Hey y'all, Boogie Night here. What's going on? So, what would you get if you took Cruel Intentions, placed it in 18th century England, and gave it a very John Cleese, Eric Idleish comedic spin on it? You would get Love and Friendship. No, not the emotion or the concept. I'm talking about the movie Love and Friendship. Um, Basic overview: Love and Friendship, directed by Whit Stillman, is based upon the Jane Austen novella Lady Susan and all the correspondences from that novella, and puts it into this very dry, humorish comedy kind of thing. So, right out of the gate, I'm going to tell you this is not a romance movie, despite the title. This is not something that you're going to take your date to expecting, thinking that you're in touch with your romantic side or anything like that. This is a very, very dry and almost black comedy movie, and it was awesome. Now, I had planned on seeing this a few weeks ago with Redheaded War Bitch, not Amazon War Bitch. She corrected me because that was the other title she gave herself, and so I apologize. That was not what I anticipated. That being said, so we ended up going about a couple nights ago, and we couldn't stop laughing. This movie was straight up the kind of comedy that I go for. Now, there really is no central plot to it, just a lot of little subplots throughout the movie. The only real thing that ties it all together is, well, first of all, you have Kate Beckinsale, and she's awesome. So for those people that thought she didn't do a good job at Underworld, this is her redeeming movie, and she fits the part better than a death-dealing vampire trying to kill werewolves. I thought it was fantastic, and for those of you who actually like more of a dry comedic, slightly artsy movie, there you go. So, what I mean by the John Cleese and Eric Idleish kind of feel to it is the way they introduce the characters. Then, right as soon as the movie starts and you are introduced to the first couple of characters, they have descriptions on who they are, their personality types. So it'd be like, Lady Susan, actively available, or something like that. Or, as I'll say later on, Sir James, the unintended. But it's just funny because when the characters are displayed and portrayed like that, there's a freeze frame with their name, so you're introduced to who they are by name, which I thought was very intelligent by itself, because in a movie like that where there's so many little characters flitting about, it's easy to forget unless you're taking notes. But then having the comedic description and a very black comedy perspective kind of enhances it to the point that when it goes freeze frame to introduce the characters, I almost expected the movie to go sepia like it would be from a silent film in the Old West days, because it just kind of had that feel to it. And I just thought it was a really good way to portray it. So, plot points. And by plot points, I mean subplot points that everything come together. So, the main characters you need to know are Lady Susan, played by Kate Beckinsale. And once again, seeing her in this movie made me very, very Kate sexual. And once again, towards Kate Beckinsale, not towards Greg's fiance, Kate. I am so sorry, Kate. With all due respect, you and Greg have your thing, and you're just a really good friend of mine, so my apologies. You have Kate Beckinsale as Lady Susan, her daughter Frederica, her late husband's brother, Lord Vernon, forgive me, the first name escapes me, his wife, Lady Catherine Vernon, Catherine's brother, Reginald de Courcy, meaning Lady Catherine Vernon's maiden name, de Courcy, and Sir James. And I'm going to go over all of these throughout the plot points. So, Lady Susan, high society person in London, and newly widowed. Her husband recently died. It doesn't go into the fact how he died or why he died or anything like that. So let's just go ahead and say right there's really no foul play, and I'll get to my reasons why. She leaves her London home and escapes to her brother-in-law, Lord Gordon, and Lady Catherine de Courcy / Vernon, their country home known as Churchill. And she travels with her lady-in-waiting, who has a very interesting sense of humor, just like her. So, as the plot unfolds, you see these little schemes, which is why I compare it to Cruel Intentions, because it's got a very dark, overarching feel to it. And Lady Catherine is Lady Susan is so scheming and devious and Machiavellian to try and get the way that she wants out of her life, but she's very clever and very subtle to the point that it almost turned me on a little bit. I'll be honest with you. That kind of very intelligent scheme to it. It just kind of thought like, wow. Okay, as long as I'm not on the receiving end of those schemes, okay, I'll think about it later on. So, that being said, so she travels to the country home of Churchill that belongs to her brother-in-law and her sister-in-law, so Lord Vernon and Lady Catherine. So she goes over there waiting, and you don't really know why she does. She just goes there because there's really, out of the first 15, 20 minutes, there's really no reason for her to be there, particularly the fact that she's bitching and moaning about how boring it is and how it's not real high society. Yet, she overhears the conversation between Lady Catherine and Reginald de Courcy, saying that she has this streak to her being a flirt, a go-getter in the least possible way, and that she's only out to get her own means to whatever possible. So once again, very Machiavellian. So, of course, the fact that she immediately wants to discredit it. Why? Because she wants them in her corner so she gets her way. Because that's what Machiavellians do. She, Dragoons, basically subtly convinces them by finding out what their pleasantries are, which almost kind of remind me a little bit like Hellraiser. There was really one scene in there where I half expected to hear Pinhead go, "What's your pleasure, sir?" But that's a whole different genre. So for the first bits, you really don't know what the plan of attack is, other than the fact that she's just mooching off their land and using her sadness, because she really didn't seem too torn up about her late husband dying, and trying to appeal to her in-laws. Once again, for a very subtle reason you don't know why. And then she starts flirting with Sir Reginald, I guess trying to get in her corner. But then throughout the system, you find out she's having these correspondence with her lady-in-waiting, or her correspondence person, who is also the wife of one of her backers. The story, it gets kind of convoluted at that point, I'll be honest, but later on, her daughter supposedly runs away from school to Churchill, the country estate, to be with her. Once again, she fakes the whole concept, saying like, "Oh my God, I didn't want her to come here," when for a fact you know right out of the gate that she can't afford it. And then shortly thereafter, her daughter, Lady Frederica, her unintended, which was hilarious when that subtitle came in, because I think about what would happen if I meet my ex-girlfriend's parents, and I'm thinking to myself, oh God, there's going to be my title. He shows up, and he's dumber than a bag of hammers. Like, he is straight up, somebody was huffing the crow or snorting the bleach when he was in utero, because this guy, not intelligent, but born into high society. Say hello to Sir James. And this is when you kind of start seeing things come together. Sir James, once again, reasonably handsome dude, but dumb as a post. Like, I'll give you an example, and at this point I almost fell out of my couch. I was laughing so hard at this, and so was, RWB. They're eating dinner at Vernon/de Courcy's house, and they're eating peas. Yeah, why not? I gotta give peas a chance. Except for me. I find those disgusting. That's beside the point. And he's like, he's giggling like a school child. He's like, "Oh, what are these? What are these? These are round little green balls." And they're like, "These are peas." And he completely busts a gut like an elementary schooler because somebody said the word pea. And he expanded his vocabulary. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't know whether to laugh or grin, because that's when things came at a sharp volition. Because since he's loaded, and frankly, I would want to be loaded 24/7 if I had to had put up with him even as a friend, let alone trying to be paired up. That Lady Susan doesn't care if it's a marriage of love, because her daughter kind of represents what I would say the working class. Excuse me. She has no problem working for her money, which kind of revolutionizes things to begin with, but that's beside the point. So, Kate Beckinsale's Lady Susan wants her to marry the dim-witted Sir James because he's loaded and it secures her daughter's future. And then at the same time, through subtle manipulation, she wants to find a husband for herself, so she stays in high-class society. Now, having never been in high society, I have no idea how that feels. So, 18th century, good on them. All right. So, long story short, during their stay, obviously since Sir Reginald and Frederica are so close in age, it's natural for them to bond. So when Susan finds out about this, she manipulates her daughter through religious things. Obviously, she doesn't follow the Christian faith because she couldn't even quote the Ten Commandments if you put a gun to her head. And long story short, I don't want to give away too many spoilers because you really should see this movie. There are some twists at the end. Okay, spoiler alert. Big spoiler alert. So I will say from 11:30 to whenever this ends. Big spoiler. Frederica goes away, falls in love with Sir Reginald, comes back, stays with him, they marry. Lady Susan decides since the dim-witted Sir James still is loaded, and he's dumb as a rock, hey, sure, why not? They'll hook up. At least she's loaded in money. Okay, end spoilers at 11:55. There you go. Big plot twist done. It's just, I love the subtle workings of this movie. It's very, like I said, dry comedic, very Monty Python-ish. I mean, there was one point I half expected somebody to walk around going, bring out your dead, bring out your dead. It just kind of had that nature to it. Very manipulative. Kate Beckinsale never really kind of had the twist and the turn that you sort of expected her to do, realizing that love can't be bought. No, she proves love can be bought in the funniest way possible. She never really redeems herself with her in-laws, but she saves the fact that her daughter wants to love for love. Even though she doesn't like her daughter, it's more along the lines of like, well, I gave birth to you, I guess I have to put up with you. I know this sounds really horrible the way I'm wording it. Not as comedic, but then again, once again, I like this movie a lot. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Once again, it depends if you like more of the artsy type of movies, because that's what this movie was. There really had nothing to do with love, because once again, 18th century England, high society begets high society. But what I can say is, if you like dry, dark humor, if you like subtleties, and the occasional slapsticky moment, this is the film for you. I apologize that I can't come up with too many slightly comedic or dumb remarks that might actually improve this review. But it's hard to talk smack about a movie that you really, really enjoyed. And this was 90 minutes of high enjoyment. And not just because I was sitting on a couch drinking a beer with my friend RWB. It really all blended together, all the subplots, and just kind of the way you see the character development. Not Lady Susan, God knows, she's as two-dimensional as, a sheet of paper. And she had one thing in mind. But she succeeded in doing that. And mind you, I think she's a conniving, manipulative little bitch, but she got what she wanted. And if that's what she wants, she has no one to hurt but herself. Because with all due respect to Sir James, yeah, he couldn't see hurt coming, anything like that. But I was more supporting Frederica, because she kind of resembles the idealistic young adult, wants to achieve her dream, wants to find love for love, and that kind of thing. So there's your one romance bit to it, but it's not like if you're a big Nicholas Sparks or Danielle Steele kind of reader thinking this is going to turn into something like one of those stupid modern romance movies that no amount of alcohol can make me sit through, or no amount of promises to be rewarded for my suffering can ever do. But if you like this movie, okay, this has had the right amount of romance, but it was manipulative as hell. I think the funniest part came at the end when Sir James is visiting Susan's friend back in London, saying that he's going to be a dad. And he found out 2 days after the wedding that he was going to be a dad. And there's no realization on his face that it's not his kid. Because let me tell you this right now. She had a couple of male mistresses during the course of her relationship. That, once again, very cruel intentions like. So one person, despite the fact he was married as well to a very emotional mess of a wife, I'm only saying that with a laugh because her reactions were very over the top. But then again, she found out her husband was cheating on her with Kate Beckinsale. And her reactions were very funny and added to a lot of plot twists and so on and so forth. So I like this movie, like I keep saying, and I would highly recommend it. It's not a Michael Bay or a Bob Najafi or a Steven Spielberg or anything like that where shit's getting blown up constantly. But it was dry, it was funny, and it flowed. For the 90 minutes or something like that it was on, it packed a lot of things into one central plot. And I liked it a whole lot. So, once again, I apologize if you don't find this too amusing, but it was insightful. And I'm really glad RWB told me about it, because I don't know too many theaters in the Orlando area that showed it, other than the one we saw. So I think it's pretty much pulled from a lot of screens, so honestly look for it on Redbox or Netflix or Amazon or things like that. So on that note, once again, next week, starting Monday, I'm going to be doing a force march of seeing 5 different movies throughout the entire week and doing a review once a day. If you recommend a movie, tell me about it, and I will not only watch it and review it, honestly, I will give you credit for it. I want this to kind of be a big push because I really want to see recommendations coming from my viewers about what they want me to review. Of everything across the board. I'll even watch a Michael Bay movie. You know how much I love Michael Bay. So, that being said, have a wonderful 3-day weekend. Be safe. Be smart, and overall, enjoy things, and I will catch up to you next week when the Forest March starts. Peace.